Good evening, everyone. Hello. Yes. Hola. Haha. So, I expect that more people will come, but we are here, so we are going to start. I wanted to introduce Sergio Guimaraes. Is that how I pronounce your name? How do I pronounce your last name? Guimaraes? Say again? Guimaraes. All right. Guimaraes. It's okay. My friend Mark was teaching me differently. Okay, so who is Sergio? He is from Brazil. His background includes undergraduate degree in social communications in Sao Paulo, Brazil, master's degree and teaching at the University of Lyon in France, graduate study in information sciences in Spain. Following an invitation by UNESCO, Sergio moved to Angola, a country in Africa, and a former Portuguese colony, to help the government integrate children in the school system. 3 years later, Sergio moved to Brazil to work for the Ministry of Education in São Paulo, and this would be the start of his career in psychodrama. Recently, 1 year ago, Sergio graduated as Doctor of Psychology from the University in Buenos Aires in Argentina with a dissertation on origins and development of psychodrama as a method of psychosocial change. He dedicated his later life to capturing interviews with Zerka Moreno and working with the ones that were closest to her, including her son, Jonathan Moreno, and their family biographer, René Marignon, who is going to be our Sunday morning speaker. Sergio has been providing the international psychodrama community with beautiful documented footage of their interactions. He created a YouTube channel dedicated to Zerka and the people in her life, and he has uploaded 59, right, videos. So everyone can go and search. Why I value so much what Sergio has done for the international psychodrama community, because he has traveled from South America to North America to Zerka, paying out of his pocket, spending so much time and effort in creating those videos that will stay in the history for generations to come. Many of us knew Zerka, and our new psychodramatists, the young people and those that are coming in the future, they won't have that chance, except that they can go and search Sergio's YouTube channel and feel like they can hear her voice, they can bring her to their life, they can learn from her, and actually Sergio brings Zerka to us again alive. And Zerka is going to be with us tonight. This is a very, very special evening. Sergio Guimaraes. Thank you.
Whatever. Let's start.
let's see if I get this right. Did you ever took pictures, Zerka?
Yeah, what?
Pictures. Did you use cameras or not? You never use cameras to take pictures.
Yes, we made pictures, of course.
Yeah, you
We
did.
did motion pictures, certainly we did. Started in the 40s.
It was, I'm assuming that it was simpler at that time.
There is a very, no, right, it was very unusual. And we had the first sound camera that was available at the time.
Well, now I think it's working. Let me see if it works.
Look, Zerka, what I would like to ask you actually is the following. I was looking at the Psychodrama third volume.
I need to do something with this water. There's a little stool in the...
Yeah, so let me take.
Through with this? No, he's bringing a stool for me to put down. Okay,
Yeah, this is a little bit.
it's better.
Yeah,
Fine.
it will.
Yeah.
Notice
the color red. I coupled that myself.
I found a small publication called Psychodramatic Rules, Techniques and Adjunctive Methods
Right.
that I thought that it's a quite simple way of introducing psychodrama for people who don't know, and because our people are not necessarily familiar with that, so I thought about going through a little bit the rules and the techniques and ask you a little bit about that, and if we can show something, we can do that. One of the things that I can see regarding the rules, for instance, is that the first rule says the subject acts out his conflicts instead of talking about them.
All right.
Well, this doesn't necessarily mean that we should be talking about or showing conflicts. It can be something else. It can be
anything that the subject is concerned about.
Mm-hmm.
It could be relations to people, relations to the universe, relations to God, relations to work, relations to his family members. It can be anything. I mean, don't forget that we started out as a form of therapy. So obviously the people were people who presented their problems.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever concerns you, whatever is important to you that you need to work on, and it is strictly, for most people, voluntary.
Yeah.
They have to come and admit, I'm having a problem with my husband, I can't stand my own son, whatever. So it's up to the director to elicit from the protagonist the area of concern. And instead of telling, they reenact.
So one of the difference when we compare with psychoanalysis, where the person just talks. So psychodrama is about acting out, not only talk.
Psychodrama is drama.
It's
Of the
drama.
mind and the body
Action.
in action.
I am the Father.
Zerka, living Moreno, what does this mean to you today?
Well, maybe I'll moderate my statement a little. I try to be living in the present, not worry too much about the present and the future, although the present looks a little bit dark, and the future doesn't look very cheerful either for a lot of people. But I try not to stay with that worry about the future. It's inevitable, we worry a little bit. I try not to hold on to that. And I can tell you one thing for sure. I do not regret one iota of the past. I look back and I say, yes, that's exactly how it should have been. It's fine. So it's really the present and the future. And because I'm only a single person, there's a lot of other people involved in this. So trying to live in the present and to be as spontaneous and creative in that present, and holding on to the idea that there are positives in this world. You know, there was once a very lovely African-American song about accentuate the positive, ignore the negative, don't mess with Mr. in between. So try to accentuate the positive, not only in yourself, but in other people. You know what makes me feel humble is that people need to be told or reaffirmed in the fact that they're lovable. They're worth loving. That's what I hope to convey in my work.
And if J.L. Moreno would come here in this world today, how do you see him coming?
Well, actually, he had two famous gestures. You saw one of them as holding out his hand to people.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was opening his arms wide and embracing and welcoming people.
Mm-hmm. What was the first one?
Reaching out to people.
Ah.
To greet them, shake hands or whatever. I think those were two very typical motions of his.
Mm-hmm. Serious or laughing?
What?
Serious? He would be coming serious or laughing?
Oh, no, I think that varied. That varied, but the smile was not so much in his mouth as in his eyes. Very expressive eyes.
Have you seen and heard, what is your first impression?
Well, I was impressed with the amount of honesty and openness that the people in the group had. They were able to express themselves freely.
Mm-hmm.
And that's quite a thing to achieve in an organization. You call it a psychodrama, but actually it's a psychosociodrama because many of the people in the group felt similar frustrations and disappointments. And as we know, institutions are hard places to live in. I would encourage you to let the protagonists do more with their body. The lights, turning on of the lights, let them set the lights. First of all, it mobilizes their body. And they get it just the way they want it. Mm-hmm. They can adjust it. Also, this is secondary, but it is still important. I have to work closely with my protagonist because I have a hearing difficulty. But you don't have to be that close to the protagonist or in the scene. In our theater on the stage, I don't remember Moreno ever getting on the stage. He was at the side. In that film in Paris, he had to do it because there was no stage. Mm-hmm. But where you have a specified place for action, the director doesn't get in there unless it's absolutely necessary for one reason or another. And so that may have given psychodrama the wrong impression to a lot of people. In fact, James Ennis, who worked at St. Elizabeth's Hospital and established the training program there, worked with 40, 50 people, and he would be at the back of the audience, or the group, like this. So he could also see the reactions of the patients. Not only that, when you are not in the picture, you can see more what's going on between protagonist and the auxiliary, including their body language. You know, so it's not so. You also can't see the expressions as well, standing behind them, standing on their facial expressions.
Having seen that, did you like it?
Yeah. First of all, it's a very courageous undertaking. And it was splendid the way people participated. From the point of view of direction, if I would have been directing this, I would have reminded the people who were taking these roles, because they were split in their action. They were acting and laughing because they realized that they were reenacting these stupid politicians. And that's fine in principle, but they shouldn't split their action like that. I would have said to them, this is not a joke. This is a deadly, serious problem. To anchor them in the reality of this story. This is not just an act. This is a considerable, universal problem. Not just in this part of the world, but for all humanity. So I would have corrected that. Otherwise, I think, well, there was a lot of talk, a little bit too much repetitious talk. But I liked the spontaneity and everybody pitching in, and I think there should have been more people taking a critical attitude. Oh, what do you think you're doing here? This is absurd. You know, in other words, show the other side. It was emphasized to some degree that this is not only a question of water, it's a question of property owners, people with money, who can afford not only to use it, but to waste it, which is a socialist point of view, of course. That, I think, could have been emphasized. For instance, we had a situation right here in Atlanta, Georgia, where there was a drought. And there was one man who used 200,000 liters of water a day for his pools, for his mansions. Now, I think that's a public scandal. And I think those people who can afford to waste people like that, water like that, should have had their water turned off. There should be a commissioner who watches this waste and turn it off and say, unless you go by these rules, you have no water. That children should go to school and not go to a clean and hygienic environment is unthinkable.
Now, please, Zerka, how do you react to this psychodrama?
Well, I'm always impressed by your courage to jump right into some really powerful themes. And you set the theme here, ghosts in our life. And again, I like the spontaneity of the group and the willingness to go with you. Now, it's a teaching session, okay? You have to remember that we are actors. We're not just talkers who sit sedately on chairs and talk to each other. I know that when you see the movies with Moreno, that he is very much in the center as a director. I've learned not to be. I think because he was a pioneer, I had to show people, and he was a showman. And he worked with very difficult patients, for whom he was a psychiatrist. his persona came through very powerfully, and his presence was very frequent. I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm a dramatist. And you know, once the play is rehearsed and ready, the director doesn't show up, or sits, but doesn't show up on the stage. That's how I feel about my psychodramas. Once I've got the scene more or less set, I try to keep out of it. I am also physically limited, which in a way is both good and bad. It's good because I'm not the center. It's bad because sometimes I like to be close to the protagonist and let them know I'm there, comforting them. But that I can't change. So my suggestion to the director, or any director who starts, is don't be the center of events. You just set the scene, capture the mood, get the warm-up going, turn it over to your protagonist and auxiliaries and guide them.